Well, that's been recording this whole time. That's fantastic. And this. Is it live both ways?
This is good.
That one's set. Yeah. As soon as this turns on, I'll run it.
AKA Ricky Henning.
Who's the one waiting? What, like, is it me? I'm probably the one waiting. Why isn't it going? There it goes.
This is the
Wait. I got to line up the audio.
It's Carl. Carl's waiting.
This is the Okayest Hunter Podcast. Never pass on shooter bucks, because that's just meat in the freezer. It's your tag. You hunt how you want. This is Okayest Hunter.
And we'll just turn the music off. F the music today.
Soft launch. Hard quit.
Just jump off the cliff.
Let's go.
This is the Okayest Hunter Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I had to just mix it up a little bit. Shout out to Half Rack, half-rack.com. They are our presenting sponsor.
Woo!
Good friends.
Big
They just
dogs.
Sent us some really fun koozies that have bottle openers attached to them with our logo on the top.
These things are very cool.
It's like
You ever see the
this is like
reef?
some hardwood though. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's nuts.
That's not cheap pine. You ever see the reef sandals?
Yeah,
that
yeah,
have
I have
the bottle
them.
opener?
I have them, and I use them all the time. People think it's disgusting because
Oh,
I'm
'cause the-
using my foot to open it. But you know,
People do way more disgusting things than that.
when in Rome.
Oh my god, I overused that one.
Oh, yeah, because you've been gone for how long has it been since you've been in here? 3 weeks?
A month for sure.
Yeah, because we've had Greg a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he can't make it tonight. He's recording the Okayest Fisher podcast. So, anyway.
He doesn't like the way I smell.
No, nobody does.
No,
that one
that's
time you came here and you had to use my shower.
Yeah.
Were you out in the swamp today?
No, not today. Why do I smell like I was in the swamp? Damn it.
I know you've been hanging cams.
Yeah. Hanging cams. Yeah, a lot of big changes in the last month here. My wife and I got back from our big European trip. So we
Yep.
spent 2 weeks overseas. That was tons of fun. We chaperoned 67 travelers,
That's a
which was a
lot.
huge group. And
Wait, but when you were flying on the plane, were there any MFers that were not real? Or they were all real? Have you seen this?
no,
You have no idea what I'm
I have
talking
no
about?
idea what you're talking about.
Ah! Somebody must know what I'm talking about.
Opportunity missed because I don't
American
know
Airlines had a
anything.
big incident with some lady that was saying there was somebody that wasn't real on the plane.
What?
Like, I don't know, an alien? Well,
And they
nobody
weren't
knows.
real.
But no one has footage of the person that wasn't real. So there's no confirmation. Now the lady's just gone. Like, no one knows what happened.
I don't even know what that means.
Anyways,
That's
so
interesting.
then you've had all real people on the plane. That's great.
All real people on the plane. We did the whole tour from Paris to Barcelona, through Provence, the south
Okay.
of France, and into Italy. And then came back. And a day after we got back, my wife started full-time job for the first time in 6 years.
Wow.
So boom, she's writing a job. I'm stay-at-home dad. And so we're adjusting with all the changes.
Nothing like come back home.
Nothing like I'm back home. No, it's good. It's good. So just different. It's a different summer so far.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the rest of it's enjoyable with the kids.
Yeah, it is good.
all
We're
that good
having lots
stuff.
of fun and going exploring all kinds of places. So
Good deal, man. Yeah, and they're gonna have fun with dad. Dads
Yeah.
are adventurous. Not to say moms aren't. In fact, there's like a Bluey episode that talks about this, how moms are boring because they have all the rules, but then dads are fun. But dads F everything up because we don't think of half the things that moms do.
oh, of course.
We suck.
And I'm in the transition of becoming mom.
Yeah.
So you know how like dad comes home, dad's fun, or if mom's away working, she comes home. Like whoever is gone, they're the fun one, right? They
Yes,
come
yes.
home. Well, now I'm home for like over a week, so I'm already the not fun one. Mom gets home and she's the fun one. So we've totally transitioned.
Funny.
So now she's getting her fun
Glory,
time.
yeah.
Yep, she's getting it. She deserves it.
That's good.
And
Yeah.
she's enjoying the job. It's going well. So
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Well, I don't know. We got some more partnerships to talk about. Latitude's working on their sticks coming out. I've been pretty motivated by like the Jake Bush running stuff. He just recently ran 10 miles.
the 10-mile Monday.
And I was like, wow, cool. I did 10 miles like a week or two, whenever.
Yeah, you
I
did.
did. And
Saw.
damn near died. He didn't like his mile times were 7 minutes. I'm like, there's no way I'm running 10 miles at 7 minutes a clip.
No, thank you.
It got worse and worse as time progressed.
No,
I
thank you.
was like, but I'm trying, you know.
The folks at
Uh,
Latitude, if you have not been seeing all the things they've been doing, I don't know, you must be hiding under a rock because that's all I see anytime I go on social. what Jake's done with the podcast and the guests they've had on. They've been having an amazing year here.
They're basically a media company.
Yeah, they're doing huge stuff, man.
Their show grid is awesome. The products are awesome. The people are awesome. Like they're going to the Mobile Hunter Expo, and is it somewhere in Michigan? And then they're the ones putting on the film festival there, which is like it's a Latitude Film Festival. Like they're really got their hands and everything, and that feels like it'd be really challenging. They're navigating it from the outside in really, really well. I'm sure internally they're losing their heads because I know how it goes. But yeah, good for them. And then Spartan Forge, I think Bill has just been working with his team like 16-hour days trying to get LiDAR to come out. And as someone that's built an app, I understand not to the magnitude that Spartan Forge develops, but I understand that like it is difficult. And just like a supply chain, sometimes things don't go right. There's delays, launches take like you put something onto the App Store on Apple and it's like, like, nope, try again. But it doesn't really tell you what it didn't like.
It just knows it didn't
it
like
could have been a comma in the wrong place in the line of code or something weird. So, that whole thing's tough too. And the guys at Go Wild, they're flourishing also. They launched a new company that now Go Wild sits under called Holler Commerce. That's all about affiliate marketing for publishing agencies. It's a whole thing. But Go Wild is like their poster child of that new entity that they formed. And
that's your wheelhouse. When you start talking e-commerce affiliates, I have no idea what you're saying, and your mouth just gets smilier and smilier.
It's crazy. But like, Go Wild is just so like I posted your YouTube video over there and people are like commenting and responding and the comments are coming through in the YouTube video of like where to hang summer trail cams and I love the water idea. That makes a lot of sense. Oh, is there gonna be glare? Like, is there gonna be false triggers?
Yeah, good questions.
Good engagement on that stuff. So yeah, it's awesome. So I don't know. I think I just like talking about all of our friends.
Thanks, Drop Time.
Yeah, I haven't. Have you ever seen the Malort commercial where he just gets drunker and drunker and drunker? He's got to like read the line and take the shot, read the line, take the shot.
I'm not, but now I really want to see it.
He eventually like pukes up in his hand, and at the end he's like really drunk. He's trying to fight the microphone. I want to do like, I don't think it's real, but I'm actually not entirely sure if the guy was trash or not.
Probably was.
But I want to do that with Drop Time. Drop Time, the Spirit of Deer Camp. And then like just keep going.
Can you please invite me when you do it? Because I want to do it with you.
Someone's got to record it. And get my puke bucket.
Oh my God. We had one meal. I don't remember where we were at what place in France, but we had one meal and there was something kind of risque on the menu. And one of the ladies we were with, another chaperone who is our age, has like a textural thing. Like she's like, I'll try it, but like I'm a texture person. And she tries it and everyone's like, how is it? And she's like, it's good.
Oh no.
And then she sent the meme later. Like, I don't know if you've seen the meme of the little girl who's like trying something in front of her mom and she's like chewing it. She's like,
yeah, it's good. It's not good at all.
Oh, your face says it isn't.
Well, we have a guest, a really cool guest. I'm excited because there's a lot of things behind the scenes that I think some folks are pretty well aware. We have a podcast network we're building, growing, so forth. We have the Okayest Fisher, Upduck. There's more coming with that.
Woo!
More on deck, more being launched. And it's not like more. It's just very organic, very natural. And like the folks that we're going to be working with to build this network out have been vetted and are good friends. And we believe in what they're going to talk about. And they align really strong with our ethos and mission and brand and in their own way. So one of those folks that we've been talking with is Elizabeth Brownell. So welcome to the show, Elizabeth. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
We're just all fired up over here. Drinking our bourbon.
I was going to say I did not get the bourbon in the mail prior to this.
Sorry about that.
A little confused, but it's fine.
Yeah, they stopped shipping to like a number of states for weird reasons that I can't comprehend because I'm not a lawyer.
I never thought about it until you shared the whiskey scotch holiday thing.
That's right. Yeah, because it got really challenging.
And then you're supposed to start shipping it, and it's like, hey, you can't do that.
My wife was mad at me. She's like, you're breaking rules. I was like, no one knows.
So, Elizabeth, if you did not get yours, there's some postmaster who's sipping it right now.
That's what it is. It's good stuff. Anyway, so, why don't you tell folks a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and kind of the alias that you've been going by on social for a little while here, and we'll start to just kind of pull the layers back as we get going.
Yeah, so my name's Elizabeth Brownell. I'm 27. I'm from Virginia, and I run the account Rookie Hunting on Instagram and TikTok. And I kind of just started the account because I kind of just started hunting like out of nowhere. Like I was a COVID hunter, so um, it just was like a way for me to document what it was like, and then it kind of just took off from there, and here we are now. So.
Yeah, COVID hunter probably would have been a bad name on social media.
Yeah, probably.
But I mean, somewhat relatable because it's interesting. I've never heard it like referred to as a COVID hunter, but like, man, that time period, that 2 years, we recruited so many outdoors
Oh,
people,
tons.
like
Yeah.
with not just with hunting, but like any outdoor activity. Like try to buy a kayak during COVID was impossible because everybody was just trying to get outside. So it's an interesting way to look at it. Like this era, and so many of them have done what Elizabeth kind of just said, and like now they're in it. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
like, oh, just gonna do something to pass the time, and now they've kind of bought in, which it seems like you've done, Elizabeth.
Yeah, for me it was definitely like I don't know, I didn't like what I didn't like what the government was doing. I didn't like knowing that like we might not be able to I don't know, it just felt weird. I was like I don't like knowing that like other people are in control of the food, if that makes sense. So I was like this makes so much more sense. Like you're doing it yourself. It's a self-sufficiency thing. I think I've always kind of been like on the sustainable train, so it's like this makes sense from a viewpoint of that, like it's a sustainable meat. It's better than someone hitting it, with their car, if that makes sense. So it kind of was it was definitely a weird transition for me because I used to pursue sustainability through like a plant-based diet, and so that was a weird switch for everyone around me and myself included. But it kind of, full circle, it makes sense now.
Yeah, interesting enough, I have 3 friends that plant-based, vegan. One's a cousin, but also a friend. Like my cousin is my friend. And then a buddy of mine that I went to high school with is a vegan and like practicing. And I have a friend that was a vegan that went carnivore, like total 360, not 360, 180. He didn't come back to it. About face.
Not yet.
I don't know the numbers. Anyway, he's going to be a guest sometime in fall. He doesn't live in Wisconsin anymore, but when he visits, he's going to come in the studio and tell his story. Cause similar, like he's like, I found myself at the grocery store in the meat aisle, wondering like, where the hell is this being sourced? And I find that to be interesting that people like stop to ask themselves that question. I don't care. Not because I don't care. It never occurred to me that I should be asking, where does this meat come from? But to have that, I don't know, maybe it's because it's the ethics of the kill and the treatment of the animal and so forth, where it's like, well, I don't know anything about this food or how it got here. Is it sanitary? Is it safe? How is it cleaned? Where did it come from? How's it treated? I think there's some companies that have emerged in like the beef industry that you can scan like a barcode and you can see the supply chain of that Fred, the cow.
Really?
And they've done well with that kind of tech added to the chain because then it says like, I don't know. It's an interesting way to connect people with their food that's not hunting. Like you now know that cow had a name.
Well, we
I'm
definitely
taking us down some weird turns.
Well,
But
no. But it
nonetheless,
made me think of something, and we definitely want to get Elizabeth's like backstory with that and how it changed. But like when you said the grocery store and you not think about it, like I'm picturing one aisle at Pick and Save where we always grocery shop, and you turn and it's like where they have like lunch meats, right? Like packaged lunch meats,
Yeah.
not the deli,
Okay.
and they have like the bacon and like the breakfast sausages, and you
Yep.
think about like all that meat. Where is every single one of those packages coming from? It's somewhere completely different. You know what I mean? Totally
Yeah.
different farms, totally different animals. I would be so interested to know, like in that one aisle, how many different
Sounds like
places.
a dissertation someone can write for their
I'm going back.
undergrad.
I'm going back.
Like you could probably write a whole research, empirically researched scholarly article about just that. So to make my point and round it about here, like those are 3 people that I know closely well enough that I can dig and get some answers from them. But similar conclusion, like now that one vegan he's not in Wisconsin, he's in Florida, is now a full blown hunter and killed his first deer last year. And he's my age. Like I think he's a year older actually. So he's 38. And so he's been hunting for a year start at 37. So you talk about adult onset hunter, COVID, wanting to source their own food. I think there's probably a number of you out there that have I don't know, kind of scratched your head and dove in. So talk
Yeah.
about how was it diving in? Was it intimidating?
So originally I had moved to a new town, and I remember seeing just like trucks with like the boxes on the back of them for dogs and stuff, just like lining the streets. And so I had, met up with a buddy, and I just asked him, I was like, what's up with that? Like, what is that, and what is it for, and why does everyone have it? And he was just like, yeah, this is like a huge area for like hunting with dogs, essentially. So it's just whitetail hunting, but it's basically like a man drive with dogs. So they just like let hounds like kind of chase them, like that kind of thing. Which I have my own opinions on that now that I've been hunting for 3 years. So originally I just wanted him to take me not during like that season, but just for like, the first opportunity kind of, which was early archery. And I just wanted to know how to actually butcher an animal. Like that was really the only intent I had in asking him. And I told him, I was like, I'm gonna be, I'm probably gonna cry the whole time. I was like, but I want to like learn. I thought it was like a resourceful skill to have. And then I figured I would never go again. Like I figured I would hate it, and I would learn something, and I would put it in my back pocket and save it for any day. Like I didn't think anything of really what ended up happening was I didn't shed like a single tear. Like it was the most interesting day of my life. Like even just waking up in the woods, like the birds were waking up, and like just everything that came together. I was like, I could sit here every morning, even if I didn't like ever pull a trigger, if I didn't kill an animal, like I could see myself doing this. And it was just wild, like seeing an animal just like walking in a field 1 minute, and then like 10 minutes later, like it's dead. And then like 30 minutes later, you're literally like grilling backstrap. And I think when I, tried it, and I'm sitting with like friends, and we're grilling, and we're still like, butchering this animal, I think it was just such a easy comprehension to be like, this isn't some evil thing that I thought is like, the worst people are doing it, and they're doing it for like just for fun, and they're wasting like the meat, and they're not like utilizing it. I think it was just like, oh, like this is essentially like we just went to the grocery store, and but in like an ethical manner. Like, it happened so quick, and I think it was just such a pivotal moment of like, this isn't what I thought it was. Like nothing is what I thought it was. Like I was wrong about everything. And it's crazy that I was making such like crazy judgments on a certain group of people, and like just an activity, right? Like hunting in itself, without really like having like any like previous knowledge, like no background on it.
There was this past season I had I was taking the canoe off of my truck, and we're going to put it in this river to go hunt. I had our video guy Jace with us, and this lady was getting viscerally upset that I was occupying this space, and was like yelling at me like, "You're going to maim an animal. Are you really going out there to hunt? You can't hunt here. You can't hunt here." I was like, "Lady, I can hunt here down the river over there." She's like, "You're not going to shoot someone, are you?" I'm like, "What? No, I'm not going to." Like, she had such like, she's like, are you just gonna go out there and drink beer? Where's your cooler of beer? Are you gonna
Hmm.
maim the animal? Are you
I
gonna shoot
definitely
someone?
thought it was like a redneck drinking beer kind of activity.
I was like, yeah, so what do you think goes on in the woods? It's a spiritual event. Like, I'm getting close to nature. I'm not gonna maim the animal. I hope that I don't. I pray that I don't. I want an ethical kill. And yeah, I'm gonna eat the animal. No, I'm not drinking beer. I have kids at home. Like, I'm a family man. Like, I'm not just some drunk hick redneck hillbilly. And so her perception was so far off that me just talking to her, calmly explaining this stuff, her guard came down, and she was like, "Oh, so you're not all like that?" I'm like, "Wow, like, where's that coming from?" You know?
And that's what's so interesting is like, Elizabeth, you just like kind of half-heartedly apologized for thinking that, which I don't think in any way is your fault, and it wasn't that woman's fault. Like
Mhm.
that's a societal thing. Like
Yep.
look at
It is.
any kids movie, right? Like I'm sure we've all seen this before.
Bambi and
Every hunter, open season, bam, like every hunter portrayed in any sort of media is a drunken hillbilly who's shooting at everything.
yeah, the
Like
Fox and the
that's
Hound
every
even.
video.
Yep.
I don't even let my kids watch any of those movies because I'm like, I don't want them to have that in their head. because you talk to any hunter or you have an experience like Elizabeth did, and you're like, oh, the light bulb goes off. That's not at all what this is about. It's not about the kill. And the other part that kind of goes into that is like people who see it on YouTube, like the people who have like these crazy reactions of like just being so excited and whoa, the hooting and hollering. Like, I think what a lot of that is not for the death of the animal. It's for the difficulty of getting it done on film, and it looks like they're celebrating, like, oh, I just killed that animal hardcore. But like anyone who's ever tried to film themselves or film someone else shoot a deer like with archery equipment,
it's
so difficult that like you do feel so excited. But like
it's also primal. Like
that's also part.
You know,
it looks one way, but when you're in the actual boots, it's a totally different thing.
Yeah,
and I'm so glad you touched on that.
Yeah, and I do think a big thing too, I remember like, because I grew up in Virginia, so like this is like something that's always been around. I
real
just
quick,
didn't.
where in Virginia is Zach in the comments is asking?
Yeah, so I grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and right now I live in Montrose, Virginia, so in the Northern Neck. I basically moved. I went to college down in South Carolina for 4 years, and then I didn't really think I was going to move back, but I did, and then I kind of moved like an hour away from my hometown, so that's where I'm at right now.
Nice. Virginia.
But it was around, like, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I've been to Virginia. It's very nice. It feels like Wisconsin to me. It didn't feel that different. No offense.
Really?
The deer are just smaller bodied there.
I was gonna say smaller bodied, and it's definitely not as cold. It's pretty humid and gray. But no, I just, it was always around. I feel like, again, it was like, it was kind of like the redneck kids at school that would like, just wear camo like into class and that kind of stuff. But um, I don't know. I think I used to see a lot of like pictures, like people would post like their pictures with like dead deer. And I remember even thinking back then, I'm like, why, if they're going to do it, like fine, but like, why would they pose the dead animal? And now here I am, and I'm like, let me pose with like every animal.
Right above your head in the video.
No, that's a big cultural shift. That's a huge transition. Like a lot of people won't even take one step to understanding, and you've kind of crossed the chasm. Now like you can't seemingly get enough of hunting. So, I don't know what's it been like. What's it been like you two? I don't. We've had a lot of female hunters on our show in the past, and writers and so forth, and I feel like a lot of them commented like everyone always just focuses on that and like what's it like being a girl? And who cares? Like that is a thing. I don't want to make that the thing. I forget who it was that was our guest. She's one of the writers that we had on earlier on like a year ago, and she said, I remember she had said like the thing that sucks the most is like when I'm with a bunch of dudes and I have to go pee. I can't just go whip it out of the car. It's like a process. And she's like, that part sucks, but otherwise it's the same. She's like, it's the same.
Yeah, and it's like because you literally have to pull down, like you have to pull down everything, and so it's like, especially I found out like waders, like on a boat with a bunch of dudes, like that is
gonna
actually
be the worst.
on my wader.
How do you do? What are you gonna do? Just do you bring a bottle? I know there's like that. What's that?
The shiwi.
Yeah, the shiwi.
Yeah, literally. So when I bought that to go out at like the self climber, because like nothing's worse like when you're like in a self climber too. I'm like I do not want to go all the way to the base, like back down the tree just to pee for 2 seconds and then go back up. So it's like I did buy it's like a shiwi. It's like a silicone little like female like it's you can like point it essentially. And that was like the most exciting experience, like using that for the first time.
So you didn't have to climb down.
That's the you ought to get a saddle and you could do a sky pee.
Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always interesting. I think being again, like majority of the friends I've made through hunting and through like the Instagram account have been men. So it's like I already work in a male dominated space, so I feel like I thought it wasn't gonna be any different, but I mean shit happens and you're just like, yep. Like I think during Spring Gobbler I was with a friend, and I thought we were like pretty good friends, but I ended up, getting like my period in the woods. And, like my cramps were so bad, like I started sobbing like in front of him, and I was just like, oh man, like this is not where I want to be right now. Like crying in front of my friend in the woods, like trying to be quiet. So
yeah, that's got to be tough. I don't know. My wife well, like talk about cramps. I'm like, I have no way to relate to you. I have no idea what you're going through. I'm very sorry. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
That sounds
extra nice.
doesn't sound like a good time. That's too bad. I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting thing as a female coming into a male. Like, it is very, very male dominated, and there's a lot of like the term I learned in college, institutionalized, like meaning it's just intertwined to the fabric of our society back to the beginning of time. Like that's how we know, that's how we think about it. So
Mhm.
it is interesting. Like, and I think there's been things like, oh, pink camo. If I were female, I don't think I'd want to wear pink camo. I'd be like, I'm not trying to stand out like a sore thumb in the woods. Like, hey, I'm the only girl over here. Like, I'm not asking for some weird situation to unfold as a result of that. Like, there's no way I would want to like further call that out. I don't know what your disposition is towards that.
Yeah, it was definitely something I wasn't expecting. I think because when I started hunting in 2020, I was like, okay, like it's a pretty progressive time. Like, I'm like, are there no options like for women's like hunting clothing like in actual stores? And if there is, the sizing is all jacked up because I mean it was probably made by men, no offense. And
Mhm.
then, the other point is that it's like yeah, it's like even if they add like a pink zipper or like a pink logo or just like the smallest little accent, like I know Treason does like purple or like DSG has like the little blue, like the light blue color, like, and it's just like it's it's really fucking annoying, honestly.
Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, here's this little subtle nuance.
Yeah.
Enjoy this, ladies. Like this
Yeah.
is for you.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
like
like
just so you
let's
guys
I have an
know,
idea.
like I'm a lady hunter, like here's your pink
Yeah.
little deer, like antler, like it's just not necessary. And I think even now I'm like, I don't know why this is still a thing that companies like still think they need to. I don't know if they think they're gonna draw in women by like offering a more like feminine like difference between the men's and women. Like I really don't know what it is, but it's got to go, and I don't know why companies still think
I'm
that's a good
sure it's like, you know how we can get another revenue stream? Put some pink on that zipper.
Let's try that out.
It's the same product, but for women. And you're right, like it was probably designed by a bunch of men. Now, to that point, there are some female entrepreneurs that are trying to pave a way to like create technical outerwear that are made by females for females that will address the fit and so forth and like have more of the function rather than the form. Is that right? Am I saying it correctly? Form is like what you see, functions how you use it.
Yeah.
So,
And I
you
will say, like,
know,
and I agree. I think there are some companies that are really making like pretty good progress as far as like, again, like you said, made by women for women. And I think what I've found with those brands is like they're usually like exponentially more expensive. And so
yeah,
I
they're
feel like
probably really hard. They're like
Smaller
creating a
market, right?
supply chain out of
smaller
nowhere.
market,
Yeah.
exactly. So I feel like for women like getting into it, it's like it does take a little bit of time. I think when people ask me what I'm using, it's like I've tried so many different brands because I'm just still like waiting to fall in love with something, basically.
Mhm.
And I hate saying Sitka because, like, again, that's the most, one of the more pricier ones. But I will say it's like they have done a very good job. It's like they're like the form and the function that's the best I've found so far. So
What's
I
funny
still have
about
to try it.
I've never badmouthed Sitka on the podcast because like call it Shitka, call it whatever you want. Like it ends up being like a jealousy thing. So I think if Sitka were to just handed out to everyone, they'd be happy to have it. But like we get offended that the price tag is so high that we're like, you're not speaking my language. But
It's easy to point the finger at,
yeah,
right? Like, oh, Sitka, that guy.
but you
Oh,
can't ever
money
tell me it's
bags.
not good. It's
Oh, it's the
literally the
best.
best. They're
It's the
owned by
best.
Gore Technologies. It's like a $4 billion company. Like they have access to like garments that no other brand can touch. They're all going to the same factories overseas, and they're all getting like, oh, here's this watch, here's that watch. Oh, I can make it mine, or I can do this. But Sitka is the only one that has the ability to like literally invent new materials, and they have the wherewithal and the funding to do it. So I won't ever like totally discard Sitka even as an Okayest hunter. I would say like, well, if I had some Sitka, you bet your ass I'd be wearing it, and God knows I could use all the help I could get. But yeah, as an Okayest hunter, like we probably don't jive with the Sitka brand, but I'm not going to knock it because I don't
Yeah.
have it.
Well,
That's
and I think
one.
it's funny
All right, go
comments
ahead.
Like, I love the comments I get when people are like, wow, like, you're a rookie hunter and you're wearing some really expensive gear. You have a really expensive bow. And I'm like, I don't think you guys understand that. Like, yeah, if you could look at it, it's like a 3-year, I've been hunting for 3 years. But like when I started hunting, it was like used like hunting clothes off Facebook Marketplace. It was like Walmart hunting clothes. It was a used bow off Facebook Marketplace. Like, I think I did my time. Like I would like to think I did my time before I like started to really like upgrade my
Yeah,
gear
this
and
ain't boot camp. You're not a recruit. Like, there's not like phases.
You can start where you want.
Like,
Yeah.
and like that's marketing for some people. Like Derek had mentioned, he ran into a guy in Illinois that was, this is my first time ever hunting, and he was probably wearing $5,000 worth of gear,
he had everything.
but all the best stuff.
It was brand new.
Some people can just start there. Like, hey, that's what you got going on.
Hey, if you can afford it,
yeah, go nuts.
do it. But that's something I never really thought about as like someone entering, say, like an adult onset, or even I guess as kids it might be different, but probably not. But the double-edged sword of like women's clothing, they don't sell a ton of it, so they don't focus on it. So it's not always in store, like Elizabeth said. So like you're not going to gain more by not having it, more like female hunters, but then you're having to pay more to get something you want, is what she said, right? So all of a sudden, think of like if you had to get started bow hunting today, how much you would have to fork over to get where you're at.
Tons.
And then add
Boots,
whatever
merino
price
wool,
tag
socks,
to
clothes,
like to
all
get
of it.
females clothes
Yeah.
that actually work because they're not common. Like it's just making it harder for women to get into hunting, which is really crappy.
Every brand wants, we want to really speak to the female demographic. We want to reach the female demographic. But then what? It's like the dog that catches the car. Like, what are you going to do with it? You need to actually like come to market with something valuable for the female demographic, not just because you want it on your bottom line.
Yeah.
Which is like the wrong way of thinking. I don't know, we're getting into some weird shit right now because I'm in the space. Like
it's good shit.
I see it, and so it's interesting to hear.
You're going to the marketing, space.
Keep me away from the marketing. Let's talk about hunting.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, Elizabeth. So going from vegan, right, plant-based diet to then COVID hunter, like how has that changed like relationships, or how has that like kind of induced some conversations with, I'm assuming you had like friends that were vegan or people who were close to you that were vegan, like how has that gone, like that kind of ripple effect of like now you're doing this, like did you lose relationships, did you gain, like how's that look?
I didn't have too many people that were like doing plant-based in my immediate circle, so like that wasn't a problem, but I do have like some of my best friends, like, and a lot of my college friends, I think they were just very like very confused and like I don't want to say turned off, but like they were just like, what's going on? Like you're going through this like weird like phase almost.
They thought you were possessed.
Yeah. And my family for sure, they were also equally confused. But I think once I was able to like rationalize it the way I do, they were kind of like, okay, like this kind of makes sense then. Like you've always been like an animal lover, like you've always been an animal advocate, and like the way you're selling hunting to us, like that makes sense kind of. So I think by that like first Christmas, like they got me a bunch of hunting stuff. So I definitely felt the support and like for my family. And I think my friends, like I just had to realize like they're just not about it and they're never going to be about it. And so like all those wins I had, I just kind of felt like I kept that to myself. Like I did not tell, like even when, Ricky Hunting on Instagram like started taking off a little bit, like I was not posting it on my personal Instagram. Like I was not talking about it on any of my other like I was just really low key, and if people found it, like I wouldn't follow them back. Like I was just like, this is happening, but it's not happening in my in my social like
it takes a while to adapt to a new identity. And as a dad and a husband, like now I'm a husband, now I'm a dad. Like it takes a minute for those transitions and identity shifts to like fully take hold. Now I'm like a middle-aged nerdy dad, dude. I keep doing a new laugh that Holly's called me out for. And she's like, you are fully in the nerd dad. You're getting there. I was like, yeah, okay, fine, thanks. But to that end,
and I'm not, I'm not married. Like I don't have kids. So I feel like this honestly for me was probably like my first like identity shift, if that makes sense. But
yeah, well, it is. That's I only use that as an example because that's when that like identifies this. Now I'm that. Now I'm like literally like a kid was born. Now I'm actually a dad. And a minute ago I wasn't. And now it's like, what does that mean? You know, how does that change your life? In any event, what I was going to say is like, I'm sure there are points where you had to like defend veganism against the friends that may have hunted and be like, well, why don't you just eat meat? You know, why don't you just, you know, and like,
Yeah.
why don't you just have a chicken wing? Like, it's not going to kill you. You know, it's like at some point, if you're a vegan, you probably shouldn't be wearing that belt or using that iPhone. Like it's somewhere along the things that
Yeah.
you're possessing, it had touched an animal or it was an animal or something, right? Or an animal product. So a lot of my buddies give my one buddy crap all the time for being a vegan. You know, but over the years we've gotten so much better about like if he's coming, like we'll bring food because we want to respect his decision to make that choice and like support him rather than being an asshole to him and making him feel bad about it. Like because he's our friend, because he's a good human, you know. So I just wonder, I feel like you're probably well positioned to like defend it the other way around because you probably had to do it the other way.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like I still do. Because I feel like if you're in the hunting sphere, right, especially on social media, like it's just a bunch of like people shitting on vegans. Like it's the opposite.
My food poops on your food, yeah, all that.
Yeah, and so it's like I feel like I've treaded a good line where yeah, I still do if people want to live a plant-based life, like I'm all for it. Like I'll support you just as much as, you know, I wanted that support before. Because I still do think it's like an honorable way to like live your life if that's what you believe in. But on the opposite spectrum, you know, as I'm respecting what you're doing, like just respect what I'm doing, and I hope we can like meet halfway and like hear each other out.
So on the Onset Podcast, which is what we're calling your podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's reasons for that name. We can talk about that in a second. You had said on your pilot episode that we should all just have a little more grace with each other. And when you said that, I was like, this is why we like you. This is why you're here. Like,
Perfect fit.
you totally get it.
Perfect
Like,
fit.
We do this as hunters and outdoor enthusiasts and people that come from different walks of life. And this is all things in life. We just got to have some more grace with people. Like even parenting styles and this, that, and this, and like everything. Everyone thinks that their way is the way.
All I could help but think about is like I so respect where you're coming from, Elizabeth, like your journey and like where you're at now. And like you just said, you know, if somebody wants to take the vegan, like you just have a very well-rounded mind. And I think what I couldn't help but let my mind go there as a husband and a father, and not to pigeonhole anybody, but like whether you become, you know, like what you do in your life, like whoever you interact with, family members, you know, partners, husbands, kids, maybe, I don't know, whatever. But like now you have this full 360 view. Here's the 360 coming full.
You're doing it correctly.
But you know what I mean? Like you have a view of all these different sides, not to push kids one way or, you know, loved ones one way or the other, but like to accept and like help them learn about whatever way suits them. And I think that's like the grace that we should or wish everyone could have for all these different viewpoints. But
you're
that's
wise
awesome.
beyond your years to have that disposition at that age. And it sounds like you came from like a place where you viscerally felt differently. So it's cool that you have an open enough mind to hear other opinions. It's how we learn, is by having an open mind.
And I always think too, like if you're surrounding yourself with people that are thinking the exact same way as you, I don't think you're like learning or like you're not growing at all. Like you're only gonna hear like literally the beliefs you already believe in, and so I feel like you're not like challenging your mind to really be empathetic towards other people's experiences and like their opinions and what they believe in.
Couldn't agree more. That we're just having a conversation about political spectrum before. I'm not going to say anything other than
yeah, I was going to say that goes to a lot more things than I think people realize. So I feel like I'm very moderate, like in literally every like aspect of life. Like I just feel like I'm pretty. I see everyone's side like a little too well. So I feel like it's hard for me to like form opinions when I'm just like, yep, like that makes sense. Like.
Yeah.
But that's what makes the most sense because there is no right one way. Right? There is no one way.
Correct.
To do anything.
Yep.
There is none. So.
And what works for you doesn't work for me, and what works for me doesn't work for you, and so on and so forth. Down the chain we go. So it's one of those things. Like we could get into it. I could pick something in this room, and we're going to get a debate about it. Pot calls versus
piece of shit.
Calls. Let's talk about vodka versus bourbon. You know,
bourbon.
I think they're both like.
No, I really hope that anyone who has followed this podcast and followed Eric for years hears this and jumps on with the Onset, because I think they'll see that, what a well-rounded young lady you are, and like it's a great thing what you're starting. So I hope the word gets out, because I think you're definitely in a very, very good place here.
Yeah, you've done some pretty cool things with the. So I think I don't think I said this. We've said this before we went live. The rookie hunting. The first time you said it on the pilot episode, I thought you said Ricky Henning.
I was gonna say, when you said that, I was like, that could definitely be like my drunk alter ego.
Yes.
We're on the same page.
So yeah, if Ricky ever comes out, we'll know what's going on. But like,
Elizabeth, don't just go saying that now that's going to be your drunk alter ego because you started drinking, because you started hunting. Otherwise, we get right back into the.
Yeah. Now it's like
as I sip my bourbon.
No, but the
It's terrible.
name Onset, like you're like, oh, we could go with rookie hunting. That name might be taken. There's the Western rookie and so forth. And Onset defined, I think, is like the beginning of something new, but it often is like associated or especially regarded with failure or like something like that. I'm not going to pull up the definition.
It's like something unpleasant, like essentially, like it's something that is, maybe you're gonna start it, but it's not gonna be like the best.
But that's just it. Like when you embark on new hey Greg, when you embark on new adventures and you leave your comfort zone, you're going to do things that feel very unpleasant. Like going from vegan to hunting, like you said, you're like, it's happening, but I'm not acknowledging it. Like, cause it's going to take, cause it feels weird. Cause I'm not sure how I identify with this yet. Like you're crossing a chasm.
Well,
That's kind of how I explained it. But yeah, so
and
the
I
Onset to me is like an adventure and new beginnings and trying new things, and it's not just hunting. So I'll let you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it kind of encompasses, like, honestly, yeah, like my life at this point. Like it's like I started this, but it's kind of like just changed everything in a way. Like it's consumed like everything. And so I think, and like you said too, it's like I'm learning what I'm with, and that's honestly never gonna stop. I think that, like, as I hunt new things, I'm learning like what I'm okay with and what I'm not. Because originally, like, I started hunting whitetail, and I was like, okay, like I can do this maybe, but I can't do birds. Like that was like the first thing I said. I was like, I can't hunt any birds. Like I'm just not gonna be okay with that, because like I'm a big I'm a big birder. Like I'm a bird nerd, and I like birds a lot. And I just thought, I was like, the meat ratio just didn't seem like justifiable, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Then like the first spring came, and I was like, well, is turkey a bird? Like, is turkey technically the birds I'm like, I'm bird watching? Like, I don't think that counts. Like,
Slippery slope.
Distinctions were made.
Ricky's talking.
And so then I tried, turkey. And then the next year I was like, okay, well, you know what? Like, I know I said no birds, but like, we're just going to try ducks. Like, we're just going to see how it goes. Like, I'll probably miss every single one anyway. So like, does it count? Like, and so once I tried that and I killed my first duck, and then I kind of realized like, okay, like this isn't affecting me in the manner that I thought it was going to. And now it's like, obviously not a problem. But so I think that is interesting. Like there are so many animals I haven't hunted yet. And it's like, I love going into the debates of like ethics of certain animals, because I'm also just learning. And so it's like hearing other people's opinions of like animals that shouldn't be taken or anything like that. I feel like I'm also, kind of gauging my feelings and like my thoughts on it too.
I have a question for you. And this is, I don't know, maybe somewhat rhetorical, but I think I would like to hear your answer. Sorry. I listen to a bunch of podcasts, and a lot of them deal with, non-hunting or just different mindsets, trying to grow myself. And I've heard people talk about that feeling when you like take an animal's life and there's like some gratification in you. Like there's some part of you that is like feels fulfilled. And they said that that's like an instinctual thing that's been in us since cavemen, right? Like that was a good thing, like you provided, like it's there for a reason, versus like the philosophical part, which is like the part that maybe we had going in, like that, well, I can't do birds. But then you did, and I was like, oh, it didn't affect me the way that I thought. Like, do you feel there's any weight to that? Like, do you feel like that maybe like it was more of like ideology and like your thought process that was in the way of like what was really there, or how do you feel like that interacted? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's a good question. I don't think so. I think I just know, like, because I don't think I was like getting in my own head about it. I think I was trying to go into it with like boundaries for myself, if that makes sense. Like, I know I'm a pretty like I cry when I harvest a deer, so it's like I know I'm emotional, and I think I was just I didn't want to like turn myself off to it, if that makes sense. Like,
Well, it's also a different. I don't know, I feel like identity is a big part of this conversation because that was such a strong part of your identity for 24 years of your life, and so it seems as though you're trying to safeguard some of that because that is still how you built yourself into who you are. And so it's like if I start to just keep chipping away at that, like, are you ready to be fully on the other end of
Who
it?
am I
And
gonna
what does
be?
that
the
mean?
identity crisis I've been having.
I don't mean to call it that, but like
I don't want to like it, but I do.
it's interesting. It's a really interesting dialogue.
My mind's telling me no.
But
But bad. Sorry. R. Kelly should
That's
have
good.
no part in this conversation.
yeah, we're not trying to pee on sheets here. whatever that
We
guy
did talk
does.
about peeing out of the cell.
Right, we did.
So,
So we're really
some
getting
correlate.
the R.
Full
Kelly.
360.
Just spinning around in circles, peeing. Derek, don't put your drink.
You're gonna need a ring of steps for that. I've got one. I got a ring of steps.
This is the Okayest Hunter podcast. Like, this is where you're stemming from. Okay, we get real weird here. This is
Thanks
how
for
it
being
goes.
part of the network.
Yep. Welcome to the
We have to set the bar as low as possible so everyone else can feel as though they can make all the mistakes.
You guys
we
will
make.
kill it.
Yeah. We don't want you feeling
we'll
like
suck it up.
Yeah, we're not the Sitka podcast. Okay, like it's okay.
Or the Walmart flannel podcast.
Oh boy, I had a thought queued up there. I don't know what it was.
I'm
but,
sure I pissed it away.
but birds just seem stupid to me. I have a turkey fan in the garage. I got to find a way to put it in here somehow because I am happy with it. Like, it's cool. I enjoyed that, but like, it's not we talked about this before with Anthony Heller was here with Deer Vein. The gravity of a whitetail is heavier than
way different.
other.
I think that's what I realized too. It's like now it's like I kind of gauge like, okay, like if an animal doesn't make me emotional, it's like I feel like it doesn't hold the same magnitude. And I don't think it's a size thing either. I think I don't know. I think whitetail they hit different.
Yeah, I don't know. Bird just seems stupid
For
to
a
me.
lot of people, birds and fish, right?
But Tyler, who
It's
runs
different.
the Up Duck podcast, he's obsessed with pheasants. Then he's also getting into duck.
But so much of that is about the other component.
the
His
dog.
dog.
Yeah,
Is seeing your
The
animal
bond with the dog
do
because
the
that
thing.
is meant to do that.
Yeah,
thing.
the pheasant is like the treat for the dog at the end of the ride, right? Like that's his little treat there. It's
They're pretty.
mostly
They're
about
pretty,
his
but
dog,
yeah, you're
which
right.
is cool.
Good
Like,
point.
I don't have that bond, so I don't understand it because I don't have a dog. But
You have so many cats.
so many freaking cats.
You could probably take down a whole
Dude,
field of pheasants.
you want to
with your
hear?
cat.
Okay, let's go on a
army.
tangent here. Sorry, Elizabeth.
Hold on, you got to tell her about the backstory. But have you seen the Okayest Hunter show on YouTube yet, or on Carbon TV?
A couple, yeah.
Have you seen the one where Derek talks about how many cats he has?
No,
You know
that's what I'm
what
saying.
I'm
How many
talking
cats do you have?
I don't have any, but my family has.
That's some bullshit. I've heard.
My family
You're like
has-
me personally.
we
Not
have
a-
4. So we just every time fall comes around, I'm going on a hunting trip or out of
I'm gonna
wherever.
send your wife.
I'm
any
going
free
for the
cat posters I
weekend.
find.
My wife goes and gets a cat or 2 or whatever. So we've got a pile of cats, but
But they just run the neighborhood. You
Oh,
guys are
well,
like cat
they're
house.
indoor outdoor. But our neighbor feeds the outdoor cats, so she has like 8 cats, and she's worried that our cats are going to intermingle. Like they're
They
out
are.
there every day.
They're breeding.
But anyway, I mowed the lawn yesterday.
You find
It's been a
kittens?
dry summer in West Bend.
Yeah,
I've
same.
mowed the lawn very few times.
Been
I
great.
went to mow the lawn. It's still very short. I found about 7 dead mice and about 6 dead songbirds laying in that yard. I told my wife, I said, I mowed the cemetery today. And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, the cats have been committing mass murder in the backyard. So all
That's
of our
sad.
local small mammals and birds.
George is taking his fair
Sorry,
share.
Elizabeth. I'm really sorry. The
But
cats
No, I mean,
have
not
songbirds
gone.
aren't the birds
They're
you want to hunt,
hunters.
but the
They're
cats
hunters.
are. Yeah,
they
that's
are.
pretty cool.
Oh my gosh.
If it flies, it dies. That's what my cat says. Craig said pheasants are dumb but tasty.
Ditch
Especially when you
chickens.
wrap them in bacon. Anywho.
You wrap that bird in a pig? Woo!
There we go. No, so I don't know, the Onset Podcast, like you just went to Alaska. You are like doing what else are you doing other than hunting? This is not just a hunting podcast. Let's just talk about the Onset for a minute. Can you just take the floor from us?
Yeah.
Please.
What else am I doing? You know, I don't even know half the time. I'm just in a constant state of
Perfect fit.
emergency, I think. You know, I'm trying to get big into like the homesteading thing. Like literally at work the other day, my government boss basically was like, you know, where do you see yourself? Like, what is your dream job? And I was like, honestly, I just want to be a farmer. I was like, I think I totally missed my calling and I don't know why I'm here. And he was like, oh, he was like, noted. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I'm just being honest.
It's like the Office Space.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But for real, like how many? Like I think that all the time. Like,
Do you work?
what's your dream job? Not having a job
not having
and
a
just
job.
feeding my family.
Do you work for the government in some capacity in like a state job or something?
Yeah, so I'm a contractor for the Navy.
What in what way? I have my sister's in the Navy. She's in God, not Egypt. What's that rich ass country out in the Middle East?
Saudi Arabia? No, I know what you're thinking about. Dubai.
She's in Dubai.
Oh, sweet.
She was in Sicily. Now she's in California. Now Dubai. She's she might be your age. She's like 26, I think.
Okay.
Anywho, she's in the Navy. My best buddy's in the Navy. Like Navy. Love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
A lot of my coworkers and friends are veterans, or they're still active. So, yeah, I've worked on a naval base for like 5 years now.
So is that what's over there? Quantico?
That's Marines. So that's closer to like my hometown. Like that's a little bit north. I'm like on the Potomac, basically between Virginia and Maryland.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and that's when when I started hunting, I was like, all right, well, I've already been in a male dominated career. Like I'll handle this no problem. And I'm like, oh, nope, there's misogyny still here. Like, but yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
So yeah, sounds awesome. What did you do in Alaska? How did that go? Why did you go to Alaska? Like, how did that happen?
So I had some friends that were up there. Really talented photographer and videographer, Mitchell McPherson. He basically travels like in his van for like wildlife photography while he's like working essentially. So him and my other friend and I met them at the same. We all met at like a youth hunt in Illinois, Missouri, Kentucky. So we all became friends there, and he's doing basically guided like grizzly photography tours with our other friend, Jessica. So she's her account is like lifestyle tactics, and so she does a lot of stuff with like guns and that kind of stuff, like firearm training. And so they're doing it basically like later in the summer in Alaska. They're doing like the grizzly tours. So they were both going to be up there, and they invited me up there, and so I got to hang out with them for a couple days and some other people. And I thought Alaska, like it's a once in a lifetime trip. Obviously, I'm trying to hit all 50 states before I turn 30, so this was number 44 for me. And
wow, good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
How did Alaska stack up? Was it a trip of a lifetime? Are you gonna move there?
And that's what I'm saying. I think I thought like going into it, I was like, okay, like I'll probably like never come back here. Like this is probably like the one time like I come to Alaska and I don't go back. And so yeah, day 2 there, I'm like, I'm fucking moving to Alaska. I was like,
homesteader.
Yeah.
Did you type up your letter of resignation that night? Like, hey, I'm done. I'm gonna go homestead in Alaska. It's a done deal.
Yeah, essentially.
My kids
everyone
watch this channel. I'm interrupted because that's how I am. My kids watch this channel on YouTube called The Outdoor Boys.
Oh yeah.
It's me fighting back against them watching like some other bullshit channel that I can't stand. I'm like, if you're gonna watch YouTube all day, at least watch something that feels like relates to the life I want to live. and those a-holes just bought a homestead in Alaska. This latest episode is we bought a plot of land in Alaska. The episode is them going to it for the first time and discovering all the shit left behind. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like my dream.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. Anyway.
It was honestly it was just, I mean, it was insane. Like, just everywhere we went, like, it looked like a screensaver. And, like, I knew the wildlife was going to be crazy, but, like, it was actually crazy. Like, I saw, like, 3 different kinds of whales. I saw, like, moose on my very first day there, like, just driving, like, just 5 moose on the side of the road, like, the most casual thing. Yeah, I mean, it was just insane. Like, I saw like sea otters, like elephant seals. Like, it was just like every day that went by, like it was a new animal. Like, it was awesome.
That's awesome.
I
Yeah.
definitely-
Sounds
Good
like
for you. Good for you. I'm happy you got to do that.
Also-
I'm not jealous at all.
Also sounds like you have some really good friends to get on the podcast, because if your friend who does the Grizzly guided tours of photography does that, I will definitely listen to what he has to say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And also, like, I got to meet a lot of their, like, Mitchell's friends that are, like, live in Alaska. And so I'm blown away by the people of Alaska. Like, it's like, I keep telling people it's the difference between someone who's, like, done prison time and someone who hasn't. Like, it's, like, literally, like, the lower 48. Like, we have not seen jack shit. And, like, the people of Alaska are just, like, literally like fist fighting bears. Like, they've seen some shit and they've been through some shit, and like they're hard.
Except
they're
we're in
so
prison
nice.
and we're not.
Yeah. I mean, everyone was awesome. Like, we eat moose like at the campsite like every night. Like, they were just so great, and then everyone I met, I just had a great experience with.
That's cool. I don't know how this relates, but I feel like it somehow relates. Last night I was watching a
Let's keep
movie.
drinking
It was
Drop
called
Top,
The Intimidation Game.
Okay.
You
I've
ever
never
seen
heard of
this?
this movie. No, what the fuck you're
It's
talking about?
Benedict Cumberbatch. You know
Is
that
that a
guy?
real name? No, I have no idea what you're talking
You don't know Benedict?
Still lost in the sauce.
Oh my God, great.
What did you just say? Benedict?
British actor.
Oh, I don't know.
Benedict Cumberbatch. Elizabeth, do you know who that is?
Say the name.
No.
Sorry.
He was in a series
That's
of
not what I
Sherlock
heard.
Holmes. He played Sherlock.
Really?
Very eccentric guy.
So not
So
not
he-
the Iron Man guy. Not
No,
okay.
not Robert Downey. But he plays this, what was then an autistic mathematician,
Okay.
based on a true story, who helped solve
It's not good-
Enigma,
it's not Goodwill
the
Hunting.
Nazi code
Okay.
machine. He
I
helped
think
break the
I-
code machine. So he developed this machine that would break the code to win the war.
Got it. I've heard
And
of this,
in
I
that
think.
movie, they're showing scenes of like how bad it is while they're trying to like break this code, and like, London's being burned to the ground and bombed every day, and like the people are just having to clean it up. And like, you're seeing all these people, their houses are blown to shit, and they're just like doing it. And I looked at my wife, I was like, how many people today, like if their house got blown up, would like
Would
do
crumble.
this? They'd
Yeah.
just be like, oh, I quit. And like, we had that conversation. It's like, you just mentioned Alaska, like these people have seen some shit. And I'm thinking like, yeah, these people do what they have to do to like survive. And the rest of us are just
therein lies-
weaklings. We're
there-
just
And
weaklings.
therein lies the difference between someone that's vegan versus a hunter. And my like brass tacks raw opinion of it, 2 bourbons deep, is like sometimes you just got to do what you got to damn do. and that at the end of the day, like if we were all succumb to like total demise and we were all in the wilderness, like you get hungry enough, you're gonna kill that fucking pig, and you're gonna eat it.
Yeah.
And you might feel some shame or guilt, but by golly, you gotta fucking eat. And I'm swearing very intentionally.
Thanks.
Thanks, Drop Time.
Thanks, 12 Point Bourbon.
Anyway, I mean, and that's and so we live in a society that like affords us the ability to have the wherewithal to be about ethics, and I think that's really good. I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. I just think that if it came back to that, and that's where the argument lives. Like, well, we're not that anymore, so we don't have to live that way. Yeah, but like, gosh, does it feel good to connect with that part of ourselves?
100%.
Like, it's there. Like,
That's
acknowledge.
something I understand, like the instinctive aspect of it. Like, it is like a very primal thing, and I feel like explaining that to people who've never done it before is like very difficult.
They'll say barbaric, we'll say primal.
It really
there's a
does come
difference.
down to the experience, I think, though. Like you just said, like if you haven't had the experience and you haven't had it in a good way, like you can't relate. You really can't.
But it's not all game farms and hoot and hunt. Like I did a pheasant hunt and I hated it. I hated it.
Those
And
pheasants, where they go out and drop the
I
pheasants.
didn't hate the fact that I was invited to go do it and it was all good intentioned. But like these birds were sickly birds. So like the dogs are doing their thing, but I'm like walking up to this thing with a gun in my hand. I could pick up the fucking pheasant. I'm like, this isn't right.
Dude, some of
Yeah.
them swing them around in a burlap sack and then stick them in the brush
Yeah.
so they stay there.
Like, I like to hunt because I like to hunt.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to just go
I
pick
feel
up.
like the only way I would do pheasant, because that is on my, honestly, it is on my like kind of dream list to hunt, but it would have to be like a wild pheasant. Like I don't fuck with
Yeah,
all
it needs to be an actual hunt. And so that's, and I'm not against guided hunts per se. This just happened to be a poorly managed end of its life, farm or whatever. What I don't even know what it was. I was just kind of along for the ride. But to that end, like I think that's what some people think of us. Like,
yeah.
we're just paying to go hunt some things and killing them and then putting them on our walls.
Or if that had been your only experience in hunting your whole
I'd have
life,
been
you got
turned off.
invited,
I've been turned off.
and then here you are, you're supposed
like,
to
that
shoot
was
this
terrible.
bird that's just dizzy laying in a bush half dead.
Yeah.
Like that's not
No.
what it is.
No, and that's not what hunting whitetail on public land is,
No.
or even private land for that matter. Like, I don't care what land you're hunting. Like whitetail, they're really hard to hunt. Game farm, like some of them are big enough where you're gonna get a pretty similar experience. But if I'm hunting over like a brick of fucking salt and it's like delivering food to it and it's coming there at 9 o'clock, in the morning, and like this is when that one's gonna show up.
No, thank you.
I'm not doing that. You
Yeah.
can't pay me enough to do that hunt. Anyway, how do I really feel about it? I just told you. I don't know why I have that instinctive feeling about these things. It's just a natural feeling I have.
It's good.
I naturally don't ever want to do that.
I agree.
But if it's like some big ranch in Montana and it's like, 200,000 acres, that doesn't count. That's not the same thing.
So our buddy Bo had told me his family has gone down to Texas a couple times, and he went down with his uncle.
Texas is huge. Doesn't count. It's different.
But one of the setups that he had encountered, they were down there hunting javelina, and he's having a lot of fun hunting javelina. They're fast. They never stop. They're hard to hunt. Like they pop out and then they're gone. But he said, the guys tried to put him up and, to go shoot a deer.
Okay.
Go sit this blind. The feeder will go off, blah, blah, blah. He's like walking in. He's like, I saw like 4 bucks cross the road, look at me. And then when I turned around, when I walked by them, they were like back out on the road. And he's like, automatically, I was like, not that interesting. And he got up there and he's like, there was deer everywhere. And like, they just didn't care.
I don't want to just kill something.
They told him to shoot as many as he wanted. He could shoot whatever he wanted. He didn't shoot one. And I was like, I would have done the same thing.
I would have done the same thing. Without a doubt.
Not interesting.
It would have felt really weird to me.
Horrible.
Because that when people say you're a murderer,
that
feels like murder. That feels
that's exactly how I feel. I think I'd I'd rather do a whole season and like not harvest a single deer than like just be in that situation and be like, yeah, like I'm a badass hunter. Like, no, I would rather fail on public land by myself.
And I'm not a badass. I'm a dumbass. There's a difference.
Yeah.
But then there's like Africa, and I think Africa is different because it feeds the community. There's more going on there economically than I think people may be privy to. But it still would feel weird, even though there's good happening. I would still feel weird about it.
My views changed a little bit on the Africa thing after our trip to Europe. And I'll tell you why.
Tell me why. I want to hear.
There's a lot of protests in Europe.
Fresh new information.
A lot of protests. So the big thing with African safaris, right? Like, is it feeds the community? Good thing, right? They take care of the animal. The community eats it. You don't bring it home.
Yeah.
And it's the fiscal. Like, it's always the financial
economic
thing.
value.
That's the argument, right? Well, we went to Barcelona and there was protesters in the park we were at 5 feet from us with, drums and banners protesting tourists coming to visit their city. Because what they're doing is Barcelona is a huge cruise port, which I did not know. One of the biggest in the world, second biggest in the world. And some of these cruise ships have 4,000 people and they're going and docking at these cities, little coastal cities that are beautiful, that have 5,000 people who live in them. People are getting off the ship
for the people that live
buying everything. The people
raising
can't.
The prices. It's gentrification.
Yeah. So they're making tons of money. Money's coming in, but life is horrible. So for these people, it's not about the money. It has nothing to do with the money. The money sucks. They just want their life back. And I was like, maybe to some degree.
I wonder if they'll get to that point
in America. You know what I mean? Like, money is the bottom line. Like, we're giving them money. We're giving them money. That's not it for everyone.
Good point.
And I was like, shit. It's like, you guys,
New learning achievement unlocked. Damn it!
give me one of those little megaphones. I'll protest with you. Like, I got it.
I wonder if Africa will get to, because I think Europe's far more civilized, right? It's not
Oh yeah,
the same level,
it's
right?
very
It's not-
different. Barcelona.
I'm not saying Africa's third world.
It was
but
very much like America. Like
Yeah.
Barcelona is very, very much like America.
no, that's a good point. Crazy topics. Elizabeth, thanks for being our guest tonight. On a total whim, I texted you in the middle of the day. I was like, oh shit, we should probably have you on because we're kind of booked up for the next couple weeks, and your
Yeah.
podcast is kind of like launching. Your pilot has launched.
We're doing the thing. Yeah, it's happening.
This is how
Doing
we
the
roll.
damn thing.
Like, we build the plane while we what is it? Fix the plane while it flies. Build it while it
Mhm.
flies. Yeah.
No, I'm glad I came out for sure. I was drinking Tito's on a boat, trying to catch some cobia. So I was like, oh man, I got plans tonight. This
We
is great.
stole you from that. You
Oh,
should have stayed
shit.
out there. God dang it.
Eric, I ain't coming
Elizabeth,
on your stupid
priorities.
podcast.
Come on.
We didn't even send
But
you any
I do
bourbon.
appreciate y'all having me on. I had a good time.
Cool. Well, we appreciate it. And for the record, if you go to, I think there's a page on our website, okaycenter.com, that now exists, but I've not it's kind of like buried. I had to make the page to get the podcast live. So I'll bring that to the forefront just a little bit. If you go to Spotify or iTunes and you search the Onset Podcast, I think there was a couple others with the same name, which is hard to avoid these days because there's no more original thoughts. As clever as I think I might be. But you'll find it. And the podcast cover art is your face, you wearing a hat with like all these outdoor things.
It's very cool.
So just giving that description for people that if they come across it, they know, oh, this is the one they were talking about. But as you bring on some guests and start to become a podcaster on your own terms, we'll do a formal launch at some point. I just thought it'd be fun to have you on
For sure.
we haven't had you on yet. So this is, it's exciting. How do you feel? How do you feel about being a podcaster? What does that feel like?
I don't know. Ask me in like a month or two.
Okay.
I'm still again like the identity crisis. I think I'm still processing.
You didn't prep me, Eric. You didn't tell me. Yeah. Tell me what I did wrong. I don't know. Good stuff. Well, we'll end the live recording, and then this will be in podcast land this evening. We'll tag you in all the stuff, do all the normal things, and we'll keep you on just for a minute debrief. But thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, super excited to hear what you got, Elizabeth. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, that's done. And see you guys. And